All right. Good to see you, everyone. For this type of recording, I had to even buy a heavy-duty microphone because this recording is about me sharing the reality that I live in, being, as someone Tanzanian Ukrainian, but there is much more diversity to me than just Tanzanian and Ukrainian. There is Maasai, there is also Polish, and there is Russian. So you can pick your side. You can definitely pick your side and choose. This recording, it's really hard to even pinpoint why am I recording this, but I believe it's important to share our truths, even if one person listens to it or two is good enough. I'm just expressing my truth, the reality that I've been living in. So as you know, there's been a lot going on. First of all, I want to express gratitude for those who responded, for those who actually helped and extended their help by donating to people who were displaced. First of all, one of my cousins on my half-sister side, safely made it to Poland. She used to study in the aviation college in Kharkov that was bombed. She made it safe, is now seeing therapists, and everything is good over there. On that front, everything is recovering. There's mental assistance has been taking place, and much more. And then partially part of the funds were used to help one of our close friends whose son is also part African, to bring her here to cover the logistics, the flights, and I'm happy that she safely made it to the States. To cut through the chase, where I grew up in Kiev, Ukraine, that particular area of Nivki, there is I want to say warehouse that was used by airspace warehouse called Antonov or Antoniv. So that was bombed around 3 weeks ago, and now this week on 22nd, before I went to sleep, I had this feeling that something's gonna happen, and I had visions about not seeing my place anymore, where I grew up. Obviously, when I left, I have my own story, which if you want, I'll share later, how I lived there and what was my experience living there as a dark-skinned Ukrainian, not necessarily accepted by local society at the time, but I'll leave that aside. So the place that I called home, the missiles dropped on it. The missiles that are called Grad. Grad is a hail. So it's like, imagine a shotgun flying from the sky. So shotgun bullets flying from the sky and dropping. It broke through the roof, basically damaged the apartment since we were on the 5th floor of a 5th-story building. As they say in the news, that is shelled. They classify it as shelled. So that is gone. And obviously it caused a lot of stress to family. It becomes, all of this becomes extremely stressful. Since I've been living in the States for quite some time, not really in the States, I've been living all over the world. I really see everything, that every destruction, every explosion is where something new can be born. It's always like that. It's an opportunity for something new to be born, for something emerge out of it. I truly believe that this is all an opportunity for that. I will pause the video for a moment to turn on the light. Yeah, so it doesn't seem like I'm hiding from anything. And the gun over there, I didn't put it there, it was there in the first place. Ironically, it's there. I mean every one piece. As you can see, it's attached to, I don't know, a goat, a deer. Silly. Stuff doesn't make sense. But I'm here temporarily anyways. So when something like this happens, your first reaction is to blame it on, whoever is attacking, right? And even there I disagree. Even there I believe the attacks are internal. But I'll talk about it later, because it can become very controversial, and I just want to express that everyone who lost their home, there is something happening on the bigger scheme of things. There's something happening where you can find a positive. It's like finding light at the end of the tunnel. And it's not even easy to record these messages, because I went through lots of losses myself. My whole story is really complicated. But I do see every disruption, out of every disruption, something new emerges. And if we operate in the mentality of creation, then we don't become victims. Obviously, when your home is destroyed, you're automatically classified as a victim because of disruption of your home. You lost it. But I believe we can always start from scratch. And what's more important is that people are alive. I know some of us lost people, but I do believe God has allocated time for all of us. And we all are in alignment with divine timing. And the universal powers, they put us through these tests on purpose, to see what we're made of, to see how much we're loyal to be a good human, even despite of any losses. We can evolve. This is an ultimate test to evolve as human, as a soul, and it's an individual involvement. Don't expect your neighbor who is constantly hating on someone, or on politician, on a race or nation. don't expect them to be where you are vibrationally. It's not going to happen. So that's why I say all of these messages that I post, it's like I'm mirroring it out into the universe. Whether you agree or disagree, it doesn't really matter on the grand scheme of things. In fact, nobody's opinion really matters. On the grand scheme of things, nothing really matters. What matters is your perception of reality. And the light is getting darker. Yeah. What matters is your perception. Okay, now we're talking. Is your perception of reality, and to seek the truth. To seek the truth with your heart. And everyone has their own truth, you know? So if someone's truth does not resonate, for example, you know, a lot of people, most of the people within, you know, my tribe, you know, which is, you know, a tribe, a family, right? The bloodline, obviously disagrees on my viewpoints. You know, they see things one way. I see things differently, you know? I really think the issue that Ukraine is facing is really internal issue. It's a fine line for me to start talking about personal involvement and not getting political. Actually, for political, I will be posting links down below where you can see what I'm in alignment with. It was not actually easy to pinpoint and pick each and every video because I want to say I agree 80% with them. Some videos I agree maybe 90% because not everything resonates because there's lots of distortions. I even got as far as listening to Nordic channeling. So this is channeling of some extraterrestrial beings, right? About it, to see what they're seeing and what the channelers, even though they say they're not channeling, it is, I know it is channeling. Everyone have their own perception because it's like a disclaimer and stuff. What I do see in general is that there is a bigger agenda, and it so happens that Ukraine had been selected to be in that agenda. I want to say Ukraine, there's quite a few ley lines in Ukraine. Ukraine has a very fertile land. The land that has been giving bread and wheat for thousands of years. There were Scythians living at the times, there were Sarmatians, and they always were known for their fertility of land. So, and the vibration of the land is pretty high. I want to say I'm proud that I was born there, because there are places in Ukraine that I visited and I know they are sacred. I remember that growing up. I remember walking in the Kiev, Pechersk Lavra and other places. Absolutely stunning vibrations. Places that have been prayed for almost 1,000 years. And the fertility of land is massive. Europe really depends on a lot of things that come out of Ukraine. You know, the soil, fertilizers, and so on. So now the supply chain is broken, and it had to be broken for a reason. Because we are driven into a great reset. We're driven into a great reset. And we're driven there by the principles of dividing and conquering. You know, in America we've been divided a long time ago, you know, Democrats, Republicans, and then there were BLM supporters, the Black Lives Matter supporters versus non-so supporters. And then we had COVID, whether you believe or not. And then we had COVID jabs, whether you believe or not. And now we have Ukraine. Do you support Ukraine? Do you want to put Ukraine flag up, or do you want to participate with that agenda? So we are living in a movie, you know, and President Zelensky has really proved how amazing of a screenwriter he is, and how it was staged by the oligarchs that runs him, and so on. It's probably one of the most incredible screenwrites. If you go back and rewatch Sluga Naroda, which is the servant of the people, the TV series that were produced maybe 6-7 years ago, you will see everything there. You'll see. Whether that opens your eyes or not, I don't know. I heard Netflix is actually involved in publishing it. It's exciting. We're living in the movie. We're living in the things, in the reality, in this matrix. It's a matrix control system. So the agenda is the following. It's pretty straightforward. It's to destabilize the whole world. So now you isolate Russia, you isolate Ukraine. I mean, Ukraine has no access. My sister was trying to send me something, you know. Her bank account is closed. There is no access to dollars. I'm not even talking about no-fly zone. You know, if you're in a war, you open a fly zone. So a lot of things are counterintuitive, but I'm not going to talk about it now here. I'll post the links down and you can see it all for yourself. I don't know if it will be flagged or banned. That I have no control over. Whether that will be on YouTube too long. Thankfully, I'm not shooting for big subscribers. I'm just delivering it to myself. This whole message is I'm delivering to myself. I'm mirroring myself, and it's going to touch one of you people that know me, whoever made this far. So that's just it. I'm just talking to myself, really. What I do know, there's a lot of provocation. There is a lot of the conflict is very self-inflicted. First of all, there's a lot of money made on the Ukrainian side. All the donations on crypto, you know, goes directly into politicians' pockets. You know, do people get something out of it? They get some crumbs, you know, crumbles, breadcrumbs. You know, ironically, Ukrainian breadcrumbs is what they get. What I am grateful for, I have to mention it, thankfully came up to my mind, is that the people, our humanity, still proves to be, the vibration of our humanity is still not as low, because there's been beautiful organizations that connect to people's homes and arrange to host those people that lost their homes. They provide shelters. Ukraine shelter is a very good place. So, and then there are Facebook groups that find accommodation. I'm happy that this exists, because there are people that are actually in need. At this point, we're probably around 3 million refugees, which is the biggest since the World War II. Indeed so. First of all, because people are scared. People are scared because attacks happen from both sides. It's not just one side. You know, if someone thinks it's one-sided, well, you can leave the video, or you can stay. You know, it's your free choice. This whole situation is much more complex, and the U.S. government, not the people. The U.S. government is really interested in this war, you know, because this war has to do with a lot of things that the U.S. government's Democrats need to cover up in Ukraine. You know, they need to cover up some of these labs. They need to cover up the Hunter Biden activities, and it's not just his activities. It's Jim Carrey's son and Pelosi's, and you can look up for yourself. I'll just provide some links down. You can see. So the Ukraine is very important. It's also important in terms of division of the societal division, because now what you have is Ukrainians hating on Russians, and that hate is a generational hate. So you have generational trauma because hate causes trauma. There's a lot of trauma already anyways without hate, but hate is part of it. So that trauma will last for lots of generations. I wish it does not. I wish people wake up and more truth comes out of this. I really see it. I really see it. So another thing that does bother me is how the United States media has been suppressing any media that is Russian. To suppress media, to suppress freedom of speech is direct violation of First Amendment. Amendment number 1 of the most powerful country in the world is the freedom of speech. Freedom of speech has been suppressed. Maybe that's the reason why I have this fiction arms gun in the background, is because it's part of the United States. It's part of this culture. I don't know even how to shoot this thing, but it's part of the United States Constitution to be able to go out and have your own gun, is to have a free speech. I mean, the Constitution has been established by pure masterminds. Yes, there were Freemasons at the high level, but the ideas that they put into our country are amazing. The Constitution, hands down. I know there were slave owners too, you know, that I do know, but believe it or not, our Bill of Rights is a great literature. So when I see our Constitution being violated and censored by tech, you know, today I found out they even censored WION Indian channel, which is a state media channel from YouTube. They removed it for a week and then they restored it. Well, because obviously India's intention is to stay neutral in this conflict. But that's not what globalists want. They want it to sway this way or that way. It's like with COVID, you have to choose. Are you pro or you're anti? Are you pro-vax, anti-vax? Are you pro-Ukraine or are you anti-Ukraine? So anyone who is in the middle, they don't like that. They don't like that. You have to pick a side. That's the goal, is you to pick a side so they can pick on you. Because you may end up on the wrong side. Well, according to them, I don't see anything right or wrong. But that's for another talk. So probably you'll ask me, where do I see this all going? Well, I saw Biden in Poland. I saw him holding our Ukrainian women a few times, like he loves doing. No pun intended. I saw him talking to American soldiers and basically giving him some prep talk as if something big is coming. Someone, a very close friend of mine saying, I'm a prophet in the wrong town. Well, I do believe the globalists need to escalate this war. One of the agendas is to escalate and get NATO involved in this. Whether that happens or not, I want to say it's up to them, but it's up to people to wake up and finally send the energies for the war to at least stop in Ukraine, because their agenda is to escalate this beyond Ukraine. There may be some false flag. From what I see, they may invoke some chemical attacks to provoke a larger war, but we'll see. My intention is for it not to happen, but I kind of smell it. And then in that state of emergency, we can witness cyber attacks, we can witness all sorts of things. We can witness another lockdown, and we can get all the network systems paralyzed, and internet, and so on and so forth. So this war really enables globalists to enact Agenda 2030 and so on, because there is no truth on mass media. If you watch mass media, there is maybe 10% is the truth, and then you have to look for it and find it. And I'm done arguing with people about it. Really, it's a waste of time. You find someone that resonates with you on at least more than 70%. I remember why I say 70% is because I remember when they had 70% of job rate. That's when they were moving to the second stage. So they need population to be convinced that this is important, and then they are going to the second stage, basically, or second dose or whatever. It was a while back, but I remember 70% being a number. So Western world loves that. Anyways, what do we learn from all of this? This was a very spontaneous video, guys. I'm no supporter of any political agendas. I don't like to see people die, obviously. But I do know everyone is going through their own karmic cycle, and there is such thing as collective karma. Each country will undergo their collective karma as a whole. Ukraine is going through their own right now. And people say, I don't deserve it. How do you know that you don't deserve it? How can you judge universally that you don't deserve something? If it happened for a reason. So make that adjustment, if you will. If you don't, live on. I believe it's important to forgive everyone for what's happening, and to understand that every negative circumstance is a path for evolvement for all human beings. If we can evolve collectively, that's wonderful. Let's just evolve on individual level so that we can be that light that shines and helps others to tap into it. There's so much more I wanted to say, really. There's so much more. It's wonderful Sunday evening, it's raining outside, and I have my personal story with Ukraine. Growing up there, there's just so much to it. My personal relation with, living there and feeling alienated in my own country. So my perspective may not be as objective, and as I said, I'm not really sharing some ultimate truth. In fact, I'm not sharing anything really. It's just 30 minutes of testing my microphone and connecting with you, whoever. If this message gets across, that's wonderful. But I have lots of insights on what I believe is what's going on. I'm connected to quite a few independent journalists that are crowdfunded, and I believe it's important to support crowdfunded journalism because they share their truth and they're doing great jobs. Yeah, let's do that. I'll be posting some links down below so you can check and see for yourself and see if you resonate or you don't. If you don't resonate, that's fine. We can still be friends, just a little bit differently. I'm not looking for any quantity here, looking for quality and resonance. The world is already too divisive, and if I didn't have relatives from Ukraine, I would not even talk about it because that's not my subject of. Because if you start talking about what's going on in the country, you get involved into political talks, and then you may be deemed as conspiracy theorists and so on. And I'm really feeling that it's important to preach peace and alignment with self and be healthy and eat good and move and just be connected with your higher self. And all of these situations in the external world will lower the vibration, because the goal is to lower the vibration and enslave the soul. Enslavement of the soul is a big subject, and I'll talk about it at some point if you're interested. But the goal is to trap the soul so that it keeps coming back here and learn very few lessons and not evolve. So the goal for us is to evolve as higher as possible, no matter what atrocities we experience, and go with the spirit of forgiveness and compassion. Ashe Naling.